Hello, welcome back to a different view, and we're here to preview Celtic v Motherwell today. And as you can see, I'm joined by a special guest, RYAN118, Ryan Fitzsimons. How you doing, mate? All right?
Thanks a lot, mate. I think you might be the first person to ever pronounce my surname right on camera. So well done, mate. Well done.
That's only because I've been watching your videos in my heat all week. I've been going Fitzsimmons, Fitzsimmons.
Just make sure you don't get it right. Well, you've got it right. That's a good
Aye,
start. But cheers for having me on, mate. I'm honoured. It's nice to sit down and talk about the game. And it's good to be sitting talking to the opposition for a change.
aye, good to be on the other end rather than being the one
Aye.
asking the questions. But no,
Oh,
let's get right.
exactly.
Let's get right into it. Obviously, the other night he's won 4-0 against Kilmarnock. A much better performance. What were your thoughts on it?
I was pleased with the performance. I mean, going into it, I just kind of had the feeling that everything was going to go, lack of a better phrase, tits up again for Celtic. The fact that we've not really done well at Rugby Park over the past 3-4 years. I thought Kilmarnock would have been kind of desperate for a win, but look, it was a wee bit shaky the first so minutes, but we got into it after we scored and we kind of dominated the game from there. Granted, there was still mistakes in the Celtic team. There was still moments where I thought Kilmarnock were quite unlucky. The boy Rossi, he had a great game. He had a couple of good chances. But look, we took our chances when we had to, and a 4-0 win, you can't exactly complain about it. Of course, there's a lot of conversation as to whether or not all four goals should have stood. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with how it went. I mean, I don't think it's an indication as to where we'll head in the next few games, including Motherwell, of course. Considering that every time we do seem to play well, we go right back to being below the standards we expect. So we'll wait and see. But no, it was a refreshing watch for a change.
Yeah, and there was a few performances in there that I was impressed by from a neutral's perspective. I thought the boy John Joe Kenny looked really good. He was getting forward
Aye.
well. But I'm also let's address the elephant in the room. The man connecting the two teams, David Turnbull. I just think he's absolutely outstanding, Ryan. I don't know. He just seems to get better and better every game for me.
Aye, look, you've been banging on about him all season to me, and every weekend he does something great. The first thing I see is Stevens message you. You're just like, I told you, and you're no wrong. Look, he's unbelievable, and how he was. Of course, as well as every Celtic fan, considering that you've had him for all those years. You know how good he is, and God knows why he was kept out the team for so long. Like we see it now. We see why that Celtic fans were begging for him to be put in the start 11 because of what he can do. His performances have been great, and pretty much you could say that he's been one of the only positives of this season for Celtic. He's been the kind of shining light in a shower of.
You can
I'll
say it.
pardon my
Sorry.
French. It's been a shining light in a shower of shite is where I was going to
There
go,
we go.
and look, I'm very happy with it's turned out. So it'll be interesting to see him play against Motherwell again this weekend. But no, as you said, he connects the two teams together. But we can both sit here and admire how good he is because he's just a fantastic young talent.
We've got a Euros coming up for Scotland, and to me, he's got to be in that squad. I think he
Ah,
just gives you a bit something different, doesn't he?
exactly. Look, if there's anybody for the Celtic team that deserves to go with Scotland in the summer, it's him. To be quite honest, I think that he's the one that's worked the hardest this season. He's the one that's played the best this season. I think he gives you something different. We've got so many good players in that area of the park, but he's magic, man. He's got that creativity. It's brilliant.
I often refer to him as what Ryan Christie would be if he didn't smoke 20 fags a day.
It's the first
That,
time I've heard it like that.
that's the way I like to refer to David Turnbull. But no, is he somebody then that you think that you should be building a team round in the future?
I actually, I kind of links in really well to the video that I've just recorded. Like, Celtic are talking about this sort of rebuild in the summer. We've seen it coming. We know we need to rebuild. And a lot of people are saying that Turnbull's the player to build the team around, and I would be very much inclined to agree. He is, the future of this club for at least the next 2-3 years, you'd think. And you've got to exploit his game and his positives. I think building the team around him is exactly what we have to do. I mean, he just opens up so many different, possibilities in the park. He's passing, even when he has a shot himself, whatever. He just can do everything. And I think you're spot on saying it's the kind of guy you want to build a team around.
You mentioned there the future, and that kind of leads me on to my next point. Is it going to have a new chief executive next season? Dominic Mackay. It's the right thing to do, isn't it? I still, honestly, even from a neutral point of view, I'm sitting here and I'm going, what is Peter Lawwell actually doing for Celtic at the minute? He's just I'd be raging. You touched on it on one of your videos, I think during the week there. £510 for the season ticket, and that's what you've been served up with this season. It is not good enough.
I know we've been paying £510 for a pass to paradise, which barely works. The connection issues are bad enough, never mind how bad we play. But no, it was about time for change. Look, I've said on one of the podcasts this year. Like I can understand, the amount of positives that Law's brought to the club in his 17, 18 years here. For a business point of view, we've been running incredibly well, and we've never been in any sort of trouble, and we've made great profits every year and all the rest of it. But footballing wise, we're a club in decline. This year that's been very poor in the park. Us fans have had to suffer. It was a season in which was maybe one of the most historic in Celtic's history, and the worst part about it is for being the
Don't worry, Ryan, it's been historic.
It's been historic for everybody else, but for as big as it was meant to be, the fact that we're always going to have to look back on it being the disaster it's been is just it's just so frustrating. And it was time for change. So I'm looking forward to seeing Dominic Mackay come through, and I'll welcome him with open arms.
Yep. You mentioned that they call it a pass to paradise. It's been more like a pass to Satan's lair this season, hasn't it? But I swear the digs will stop. But
it's fine, mate. How many opportunities do you get to pass out these digs? You've got to take them all you can, mate.
They'll probably stop at 4:45 on Saturday, to be honest with you. But no,
I wouldn't count that. I wouldn't even say it, because it could be worse. It could be worse for me.
We'll get into that, but before we go there, what fresh ideas do you think that Dominic Mackay will bring to the table?
Well, from what I'm hearing about Dominic Mackay and the way he's been running the rugby, the Scottish Rugby Association, all the rest of it, 'cause he's CEO there. The way I've heard of it, he's a very fan-orientated guy. One of the tweets I seen shortly after the announcement was you can expect him to look at Celtic and turn from normal match days into an actual event. He'll want that. Apparently, he's a big advocate for getting alcohol back in the grounds and stuff if possible, and ultimately just make it a better experience for fans all round. So I think that him coming in will make it make the sport, I hope it's more accessible and more enjoyable to everybody. The one thing that I've wanted to see change at Celtic for a long time is the affordability of football matches, and I hope he can play a key part in that. I want to see us put ticket prices down. I hope he does treat games like an event, get as many people wanting to go every week as possible. Obviously, the alcohol would be bad. I'm not going to count that. I'm not going to get too over my head on that. But ultimately, I think that he brings a whole new perspective on things and turns it into a kind of more fan-orientated view. And ultimately as well, I would like to see him come in and perhaps appoint a director of football. That seems to be the direction now for most modern football clubs at the highest level, and Celtic need to start acting like one of those.
I think particularly with him being involved in the rugby side of things as well, a director of football is something that he's will implement, just to give that wee bit of nous in the football side of things. But no, let's get on to why we're here. The game this weekend. Celtic v Motherwell. Now, if you'd have asked me before the Ross County game last weekend, I would have been saying I don't want to go to Celtic Park. Can we just forfeit and award them a 3-0 victory? Because they could be doing it, but no. I'm quietly confident. You look at Celtic's home form this season. I believe you might correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe a struggling Hamilton side, God, it's joy I get out of saying that, is only one you've had at home this season, this year. Sorry.
I'll try if I go off the top of my head. Look, put it this way, right? Celtic Park is just not the fortress that it used to be, and in 2021, it's just stopped being pretty at all. I think you'd be right saying that in 2021. I think Hamilton are the only team that we've managed to beat at Celtic Park. So it just goes to show you. You say you're quietly confident. I couldn't turn around and say nonsense. I couldn't challenge you on that, because you have a right to be quietly confident, I think.
And I think it was Kieran that touched on it in the Celtic the Thunder podcast. He says that no teams are scared to come here anymore. No teams are scared to
Exactly.
go to Celtic Park, and it's quite funny actually because we went to 13 games without a win, and now I'm in the position when I'm going to Celtic Park thinking, do you know what? We can maybe
We
beat
could
them
do
on
this.
Saturday. It's
I know that's the thing. Obviously, you went through
madness.
that torrid run of form, and what's that? That's back-to-back wins now for Motherwell. And of course, Celtic are. Yeah, we can always turn back and say Celtic are on the back of beating Kilmarnock 4-0, but you've got to remember the complexion, the difference between the two clubs at the minute. You've got to look at Kilmarnock, who are managerless, 5 points above relegation, and you've got to look at Motherwell, who are now seeing the benefits of changing up and getting a wee bit of freshness involved in a new manager. You know, it's a very different opposition for Celtic and Motherwell this weekend. And look, you seen what St Mirren done last week. There is no reason that you can't tell me that Motherwell aren't capable of coming to Celtic Park and doing what St Mirren done.
I think particularly you look at a performance last night, we had 33% of the possession, but see the chances we created on the counter-attack. I am sitting here with my fingers crossed going, please let Neil Lennon have a Lenny moment and put Shane Duffy back in that defence.
And he will, probably.
Because
And that's exactly what you want to see before playing Celtic. You know, if you can play well on the counter-attack, that's how you're going to get your goals at Celtic Park. I mean, that's no secret. If you look at our performances at Celtic Park, yes, we have been incredibly poor, and I think that teams have been better than us, but the majority of goals are coming from counter-attack. So, you know, it's kind of, you know, perfect. It's lining up perfect for Motherwell at the minute.
yeah, and before we got on to our predictions, what is your thoughts been from a neutral point of view of how, I don't know how much you've seen of us, but how Motherwell have been under Graham Alexander?
Well, of course, it's a lot more difficult to see full length games or anything in Motherwell if they're not on the telly. So you know, it's coming from a little more of a like a sports scene point of view on the new manager and everything there. Look, I think he's a good appointment. I thought it was a good appointment from the start. I thought, you know, Graham Alexander would come in and. You know, it's one of those things. You see it happen so often. There's in Scotland, the manager comes in and the teams start to get a wee bit of life back into them and they turn things around. And I think, you know, the first game or so, I was like, okay, maybe it'll take a wee bit longer. But it's coming out now. I think against Dundee United, as you said, chances were taken, looked good. I think, especially over time, I think when he gets to build his own side and he gets to make his own signings, because we all know Motherwell are still in need of a few players around the park. So I think when that happens, he's going to do a great job. So far, I think that, you know, he's seen the benefits of a managerial change. And look, it was never going to be easy as well. This is the same thing I said about Tommy Knight when he left St Johnstone. I know Tommy Knight's a bit different because he was there for God knows how, like 7, 8 years, right? But the team were playing with Robinson for the past 3, 4 years, playing a certain brand of football and playing under him, and he had his ideas. And then for it just to suddenly change mid-season like that, never going to accommodate straight away. But you can see different parts of the game now that are working out in his favour, and I think that'll continue to go on. Will it go on against Celtic? I hope not, but we'll wait and see.
I feel a bit vindicated because I was getting a lot of stick off of the Robbo in brigade when I was saying that we should get rid of him, but I think I've been proven right with the recent turn in fortune, shall we say. But last couple of questions before we get into the predictions. First of all, in your opinion, will Motherwell stay up?
Aye, I think they will stay up. We've had this conversation on the Talk Scottish Football podcast all season. Is there a potential chance of them getting dragged into that Hearts type scenario where you're like, oh, they're too good to go down, and then they do go down? Because we said about Hearts all last year, but I think that the signs are there that they'll stay up. I think that you're looking at teams like Hamilton and Ross County, they're going to struggle much more than Motherwell, I think. I think the Motherwell have got a stronger side, a stronger mentality. And you know what, you've extended the contracts like a Stephen O'Donnell. You've got good players there, and the players that will keep them up. I think Motherwell will probably get a wee run of form in between now and the end of the season, which could probably lift them up the table a bit, but I think they'll definitely stay up. You've got to look at Hamilton and go, surely they're worse.
Please, finally
of the year, please, aye.
They were that bloody cold sore that just did, they disappear, mate. That's how I describe Hamilton, man.
It's the spot you can't bust. That's it.
Keep coming back. But no, back to your own team before the predictions. What is Celtic's objective this season then? Because the league's gone. The League Cup, obviously, is in it. The Scottish Cup, we don't know whether that's going to happen or no this season.
Aye.
So, what is the objective?
From the point of view of the fans, I think the objective is to hurry up and appoint a new bloody manager. I think that's the main thing that's on our minds. Like, we are sitting there every day waiting for something. The protests keep going on. I don't know if you've been keeping up with Celtic's Twitter, but every tweet is just ratioed with comments of the same photo on the Lennon. The wee red marker with Lennon's face in it. From the fans' point of view, I think that it's difficult to even set an objective now because we just want change so much. I think in terms of the footballing side of things, it's kind of went out the window in a sense. Now, of course, we're kind of playing for pride now, and we should never be in that position. I think that Celtic are obviously a company should be challenging to the very end. As you said, it's crazy. So from the fans' point of view, I really don't know what our objective is. For me, I just want change to happen in the managerial position. We've already seen it happen at an executive position. So I would love to see that. In terms of playing football, the only thing we can ask for is a Scottish Cup if it does go on. And will it go on? I don't know.
Yeah, that remains to be seen. But no, I think that would have boiled my blood. And I do check Celtic Twitter, but it's only when you have a bad result. I'm one of these ones that are like...
That's how I get most of my views, Stephen. There's nothing wrong with that.
Don't worry, just for the Celtic fans out there. I did the same with Rangers as well, right, before we start getting these conspiracy theories on the go. But no, what would have boiled my blood the other night was Neil Lennon with a big cheeser on his face to Scott Brown at the end of the game. Like,
dear. I don't want to. It annoys me seeing Neil Lennon's face now. Never mind he's smiling. And the worst part is, you can see him smiling away, Brown. I just want to know exactly what's been said as they get into the back. Like, is he content with what's been happening? It's just baffling, mate. It's baffling.
Right, so Saturday, will the dismal home form continue? What's your prediction?
Look, I've been very reserved in my predictions on my own channel as of recent. I've been, sitting there just refusing to even comment, because it's just that poor. So I feel like I'm going to be such a pessimist in saying I don't have much faith that Celtic will go out and convincingly win. But I mean, I don't blame myself. I don't think I blame any fan for that. What I will do is I will go for a Celtic win. Sorry, Stephen. I think we've got to try and carry on from what we've done against Kilmarnock, but I don't think it'll be convincing by any means. And if anything, we'll probably have a bit of luck on our side. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 Celtic win.
There you go, Ryan's team get 1-1 and it's turned delusional. Anyway, no.
You've been waiting for me to say that whole show.
Well, I'm going to stick my neck out. I think the way we've been playing, we'll get a bit of momentum. The first 30 minutes are vital for me. If we can keep it tight, we will get something from the game. We will get something from the game because Celtic will start to run out of ideas, as we've seen. There's so many points this season if they don't score early. So I'm just that first 30 minutes, if we keep it tight, I'll go 1-1. If not, I think Celtic will run away 3-0 winners. There you go. So
really? Wow, more confident in me. Look, I've said all season, look, if it is so simple for me for opposition to, I think opposition should just look at what the teams that have been successful at Celtic Park have done. Look, if you set up shop in that in the area, in the penalty area, and you have as many men compacting the ball as possible, we will struggle. We don't have the creativity behind us to try and break it down. Players will try. Turnbull's obviously the biggest one in that. He'll try, but the quality around him hasn't been there this season. And then if you're going forward, be aggressive with his centre halves. Shane Duffy, try and get in his face, try and annoy him. Same with Beaton, same with the rest of them. Just do it, and things will go away. But you're right. First 30 minutes, keep it tight, and it could be a Motherwell, a day for Motherwell to remember.
Yep, hopefully. But no, thanks very much for coming on, Ryan, and all the best of luck. I wish you all the patience in the world for the rest of the season.
I just want to end it done with, mate. My patience is gone.
But no, we'll put the link to Ryan's channel in the description. But if you're subscribed to me and you're not subscribed to Ryan, it's an absolute miracle by this point anyway.
It's the same as you, mate. I wish the best for Motherwell season. See, hopefully he's stay up, and I think he's will. And then once again, we'll probably end up speaking again soon. Maybe next season when both teams have started fresh and we have a clean slate to work off, we can have a far more entertaining discussion.
Aye. Here's home. But no, if you've enjoyed the video, let us know your predictions in the comments. Leave a like and don't forget to subscribe as well. Go over and subscribe to Ryan if you haven't done so. But no, cheers for joining us and I'll see you in the next one.